My name is TFields. Today I'd like to talk to you about woodworking. I'd like to consider myself an amateur woodworker, but at best I would consider myself inspiring to be an amateur woodworker. I believe woodworking just requires so much skill, knowledge, and technique that just takes years and years to master. I'm at the start of this journey and I'd like to continue to learn and grow and perfect my craft. I would just like to share some basic information on woodworking today, just so you can see kind of some of the small things that go into it. So we'll start off with where you would think you would begin talking about woodworking. Let's talk about the wood. The main two categories that you have when it comes to woodworking would be hardwood versus softwood. The hardwood is usually more sought out after by fine woodworkers. It's usually more expensive, but it usually has more appealing hues and grain patterns that many people would like to use in their projects. David Hughes from the Whittling Guide said, "Hardwood is easy to maintain. Even if your wood has scratches or dents, these can be fixed with ease. Hardwood comes in multiple colors, but since it's denser than softwood, it isn't easy to work with." Everything he said is pretty much true. Hardwood is very dense, and it's hard. It's hard on your blades, it's hard on your tools, it's hard to work with, but in the end I think it's worth it and makes a better product. On the other side of that, softwoods, they are softer and easier to work with. They are also a lot cheaper and lighter. It's a good place to start off, maybe to practice your techniques and do some smaller projects. But to make some good projects, it won't hold up as well as hardwoods will over time to just normal use and abuse. So that's just some basics about some woods you could pick. There's also some exotic woods that woodworkers seek out. You could get like zebra wood, which has a really nice grain pattern to it. Purple heart has a nice color, and one of my favorites would be African Padouk. It's like an orange colored wood. That's my favorite color, and I think it just adds a nice effect in a project. So that's kind of the basics of wood. Now, moving on, we're going to talk about when you start woodworking. Most projects are taking multiple pieces of wood and putting them together in different shapes and patterns. So how do you get those pieces of wood to stay together? That comes to joinery, and that's one of the most important parts of woodworking and one of the hardest to master. There's lots of ways to do it. You can do fasteners, which would be nails and screws. You can use glue, and then you also use joints. A lot of people, joints are just where you cut the wood in different shapes where it fits together in a way that's going to hold to each other, and that's how you build your product. The joints are not only practical and useful, but if done right, they can also add beauty to the project. It starts off with, you have a basic butt joint, and you just have two pieces of wood butt together, and moves on to things like a finger joint, where it's almost like fingers overlapping. So it's just pretty simple, and that wood kind of interlocks. Another aspect of that would be like dovetail, which is similar, but you're cut more at an angle, which gives it the appearance of like the tail of a dove, giving the name to it. You also have things like mortise and tenon, which is a big joint in the woodworking world, where you take a kind of like putting a peg in a hole. You have a smaller piece, and you have a bigger piece with a hole you carve into it, and you have them fit together. It's pretty simple. And then tongue and groove is a big one that's used for things like flooring, sometimes doors. It can be used for all sorts of things, where you usually like longer pieces of wood that are going to be joined across the whole length. When you have those, a lot of woodworkers like to add glue to those kind of joints just to add more strength and make it more seamless and stronger to last longer. When it comes to glue, just any kind of just woodworking, like wood glue, or like a name brand would be Type Bond, which is a popular glue among woodworkers. So once you have your project built, we'll move on to finishing. Finishing is one of the most important parts of the project, because if you don't finish it, it's not going to look good. So either right before your final assembly or after your final assembly, it's important to sand the wood so you get a smooth finish. FamilyHandyman.com said when you sand, you're scraping away material from the surface to remove imperfections or to shape or contour the edges. The goal is to start with sandpaper that's coarse enough just to remove any defects in grain easily, and then you move on to lighter grits from there. So sanding, you're just moving from a lower number grit, which is more abrasive, to a higher number grit, which is less abrasive. You work your way through that path to get a smoother finish, and then you have to choose a stain, which would change the color of the wood to something more desired. And then after that, you would apply like a urethane or acrylic or epoxy to seal the wood and give you a more protected finish that's going to help your project last longer over time. So that is the basics of woodworking. There is so much more to woodworking than just this, but this is just a basic look into the world. So thank you guys for listening today. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Bye.